Welcome back to Pickin Winners. I'm your host, Tony. That ridiculously handsome man over there is Nate. This is our Week 6 edition where we're going to go through NFL matchups for the week, and we're going to deliver our money line picks, and we're going to give you a best bet there at the end of the show. Before we do that, Nate, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Just got back from Las Vegas. Wild scene, incredible sports town. Um, Crazy how good of a sports town it is. So I got there on Monday night, or Monday. There was Monday Night Football with the Raiders
Yep.
and the Packers. Tuesday night, banner night for the Vegas Golden Knights and opening night for NHL hockey.
Legit.
Wednesday night, game 2 of the WNBA finals with the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty. That was awesome. Then Thursday starts a PGA golf tournament. This weekend they got NASCAR. Sunday with the Raiders once again. It was wild, but really, really cool to see Vegas be a sports town. I think that for the Raiders, it's just too big. That's why you see their stadium kind of, you get a lot of visiting fans and stuff like that, like you do with Los Angeles. I think it's just too big for the size of the city it is. But when it comes to like the Vegas Golden Knights and the WNBA team they have there and the Aces, such small crowd that it and the stadiums or the arenas are so small that it fills up and it gets loud, right? And they get packed full of their fans and stuff. And it's one of the greatest scenes in sports. Like if you can make it to those type of games, it's very fun. So
That's awesome. I think like 5 years ago, we probably wouldn't have called it a sports town. So
yeah.
it's kind of cool like how far they come. And they're getting a baseball team, right? The A's are supposed to move
Hopefully
over,
they
so-
build that like it's a small stadium. And it'll have to be indoor because it's just way too hot in the summertime there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, well, after week 4, we went green. We talked about that on the last episode. We got in the positive. So naturally, last week, we put on our lambskin pilot jackets. We hopped on the nearest Navy destroyer. We hung the mission accomplished banner. We declared victory after going green last week, Nate. Week 5, NFL action, though, it humbled us. We did not fare well. I ended up going 7-7 on the week, down 5 units. You went 6-8, so a game worse. You were down 6.8 units. Not a great week, but we were not alone. It was across the board. The NFL experts that ESPN highlights had Mike Clay, Fowler, Graziano, a bunch of other folks all go 8-6 at best. That was the best record I saw from their analysts. Tons of them went 7-7 or even 6-8, just like you did. Jamie Eisenberg, one of the top CBS analysts or NFL picks guys over there, only correctly picked 7 games. So just a rough weekend all around. I think that's all I have for my alibis. You got anything before we get into our picks for the week, Nate?
It's hard to pick and win in the NFL. Like that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So if it was easy, everybody would do it. So
Absolutely. All right, we're recording this on Friday, 13 October. So the first matchup for the week is over Thursday. Obviously, we picked Kansas City, so we're in the green already. We'll kick it off here with the London game. So this is Baltimore at Tennessee. The Ravens are favored by 4.5. Over-unders at 40.5. What you got?
I am going to be taking the Baltimore Ravens here. There's a lot being made of the John Harbaugh story of the last time they went overseas, they botched the travel and everything like that. So the Baltimore Ravens, he's been planning this ever since, that day or whatever. They left on Monday, right after their game, first thing morning, get out there Monday. The Tennessee Titans obviously don't watch football, and no one in their building watches football or follows anything and watches what the Buffalo Bills did in traveling on Friday. And the Tennessee Titans don't have a team like Buffalo to go out there and do something like that. So I think they're going to get smashed because they left on a Friday. I like the Tennessee side of this a lot better before, but once the travel stuff, it's like, come on, man. Like, you guys don't even have the squad to, like, contend like that. I don't think Baltimore is that great of a team. They probably should be 5-0. They lost an overtime game against the Colts. They lost against the Steelers last week. I don't think they're all that good. I don't think they played anybody that good, to be honest. But Tennessee, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to lose a game by, like, it. They're going to get blown out in this game. It's going to be bad.
Baltimore ranks second in defensive DVOA, and their opponents so far this year definitely have played into that. They've had some soft matchups, but they're stopping the run. They rank 7th in rushing yards allowed, and we know that's exactly what Tennessee's going to want to do. Tennessee is 6th in the NFL in pass rate versus expected pass rate, which means they're running the ball early, they're running the ball often, and they're running the ball when the game script dictates otherwise. So if Baltimore can hold up, their offense is decent enough, I think, to score a few times and get a win overseas. And then you mentioned the travel. I was going to speak to that, but the Ravens, yeah, they hopped over there as fast as possible. So good to see that, especially when we saw what happened to Buffalo the week prior.
Yep.
Next game. So now we're getting into the early window here. Washington at Atlanta. The Falcons are favored by 2.5. Over-unders low. 42.5. What you got?
I'm glad that we saw some life out of this Atlanta Falcons passing attack last week. Kind of, they had to pass the ball, right,
Yep.
in this game. But Des Ridder throws for over 300, 37 attempts. I think he completed 28 or 31 passes or something like that. Very good percentage-wise and stuff that we haven't seen out of him. And if there's a team that you could pass against as anybody in the NFL, it is definitely the Washington Commanders. They don't know how to communicate in the secondary. It's very bad. There's a lot of tape out there of they just botch assignments, and there's guys who are in different coverages, and it doesn't make sense because you wouldn't have half your field playing looking like cover 3, and then the other half playing man. It's just weird, and they're all screwed up. Atlanta has a pretty decent defense. Washington doesn't have an offense. I'll take Atlanta to win this ball game. And it's at home. Des Ridder doesn't lose at home.
That is true. That's a stat that's coming to light for everybody. You're calling him Des. We're getting rid of the Desmond. He's earned the right of the short one syllable nickname there.
Des Ridder.
Des Ridder. All right. I like it. I might get behind it. We'll see after this week. Washington, they're having issues stopping the pass. You mentioned that. They're 20th there. They can't even stop the run. They're 21st there. On the other side, they're 29th in the NFL in turnovers, so they're giving the ball away at a very high rate, and they're dead last in the league in allowing sacks, so they're not protecting the quarterback. I don't think the Falcons are anything great, but they are at home. You mentioned Des Ridder plays better there with the few data points we have. And I have more confidence in Atlanta gutting out kind of a low-scoring affair than I do Washington. So if Atlanta can continue to play solid defense, play the way they did last week on offense, I'm comfortable taking the Falcons here.
Nice.
Moving on to the next one, Minnesota at Chicago. The Vikings favored by 2.5, over-unders at 44.5. What you got?
Yeah, this is a game that nobody would ever want to bet. And if anybody tells you they got to lean on a side, they're lying to you because both of these teams stink. Neither one of them can stop anybody. Their offenses are okay. The Bears seem to be coming to life a little bit on the offensive end, but let's not act like they've played anybody that's any good, right? They played, Washington on a Thursday night, and then they played the Denver Broncos, right? And the Denver Broncos can't stop holes from happening in Swiss cheese. It's wild. I think there's going to be a lot of points. The thing is, there's a lot of wind in this game, so the total is plummeting. I'd probably still bet the over on the total. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I know it's dropped 4, 5, 6 points since the open. But there's a lot of wind weather that's going around the nation right now over the 15 to 18 mile per hour mark, which at that point it starts to affect the passing game. But no Justin Jefferson here for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think it matters. KJ Osborne's going to have a breakout game himself, so you feel free to just bet all his props over because it's going to happen. But I'll still take Minnesota to win the ball game here. I don't like it. There's an easy path not an easy path, but you could definitely see Chicago coming out with a victory. But Minnesota's got to win a game. They got to win a game this year, and there's no better team to do it against than the Bears.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about the KJ Osborne props, but yeah, there's the answer right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chicago's offense looked okay. It's looked better. DJ Moore's kind of getting funnel targets, and the explosive plays so far have been there for Chicago at least the last 2 or 3 weeks. On the other side, we know the Vikings just lost Justin Jefferson to IR. He's not going to be there. And the passing game was about the only thing Minnesota had going for them. They're 28th in rushing yards, dead last in attempts there. So if the passing game isn't there with Jefferson, and they're able to lock down TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, Addison, and the run game isn't going anywhere, which I don't see why it would. I think Chicago wins this game. So I'm taking the Bears. This is the first one we're on opposing ends of. But like you, I don't feel good about it. This is one I definitely am not risking real money on.
I think in this matchup, I don't think it matters so much that Justin Jefferson isn't there. They're probably a 3.5 point favorite if they have Justin Jefferson. But KJ Osborne's been playing fantastic football. He's getting all kinds of targets. The only difference is a touchdown, right, in him and Addison's real production. I think that A lot of people are going to be high on Addison this week, and I think we're going to see a lot of
Probably.
KJ Osborne over the middle with Hawkinson going the opposite direction. So I don't have any concerns about the passing game.
You guys heard it here first. KJ Osborne's the same as Justin Jefferson.
Pretty much, yeah. I think he's better than Jordan Addison. I think he's better than Jordan
I know.
Addison.
We've talked about that in past episodes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Next matchup, Seattle at Cincinnati. Bengals home favorites. They get a field goal. Over unders at 45. What are you doing with this one?
I'm gonna take Cincinnati. I'm not too sure if everything is good with Joe Burrow's calf, but we saw him scramble. We saw him run a little bit last week. But if all of your passing game is through Jamar Chase, I get that T. Higgins wasn't there, but they still have dudes like Tyler Boyd, right? And Joe Mixon in the backfield. They're able to pass to their tight ends. But they had to have 3 touchdowns out of Jamar Chase to really get it all going and just feed him, 78 targets in one game. I don't think that's sustainable. And Seattle's actually kind of gritty, but I'm going to take a home team here. A home team coming off a big win where people were like, oh, Arizona, I'm raising my hand here. Arizona's going to beat this team or they're a live dog and everything like that. But I don't think Arizona's any good either, right? They've had some tenacity, some grit, and they play good for a half, and then they get smoked, and that's just how it's been for the entire season.
Yeah.
But let's not act like Arizona's some world beater that that Cincinnati ended up beating. But I'll still take the Bengals here. I think that this is a good chance for them to try to get the run game going with Joe Mixon. He's right around that like 10 to 15 mark for running backs in the NFL as far as yardage and how much he contributes into the game from a statistical manner. So I think it's a good way for them to get him involved. It's getting a little bit more cold and all that kind of stuff from across the nation. So I'll take Cincinnati to win the ball game.
This was a tough one to pick for me as well. The Bengals, they looked better last week. Joe Burrow looked improved, a little bit healthier. You mentioned he got out and scrambled a little bit. But I also like the Seahawks. We've talked about that in past episodes. Last week, though, Cincinnati did what they needed to do to get a win. They fed Jamar Chase in the form of 19 targets. A little lower than the 78 number you tossed out there, but that's a lot. That's a very high number. The man said it himself. He's open every play. And if Cincinnati wants to win, I think they'll have to get this through the air against the Seahawks. Seattle's allowed the 5th fewest rushing yards. That's even with the bye week. So if the Bengals can replicate the offensive performance last week, get Chase, 10, 12 catches, get Boyd, Irwin, I'm not sure if Higgins is going, get those guys involved. This should be their second straight win and put them back on track for 2023. I think they're only a game back when we were talking about the division. So, I mean, the season's not over. It's not all doom and gloom like we were talking about, 2 weeks ago. So I'm taking the Bengals as well here.
Cincinnati is also going to be facing 2 very top elite level corners, right? Like a guy who was competing for Rookie of the Year and best cornerback last year. And then they draft a dope-ass cornerback this year. Jamal Adams is back at safety and all this kind of stuff, right? Yep. So, low-scoring affair.
Yeah. But that is one reason why you could see this going the other way, though, is if the secondary shuts things down. I agree. So I'm taking this one very cautiously.
I don't mind adding, Seattle into teaser territory, right? So if you can get them teased up to 9, something like that, I think that's a pretty good teaser team this week.
Concur. All right, next matchup, San Francisco. They go to Cleveland. 49ers, they're favored at the time of writing these notes by 5.5. I know that has shot up with Deshaun Watson not playing this weekend. Over-unders low. I believe that's dropped. Maybe it stayed the same. We had it as 37.5. Nate, what you got?
Yeah, it's at 36.5 now. It opened at 5.5. Got in on that pretty early. I didn't mind. One, why bring back Deshaun Watson if he's dealing with an injury and he's having to do limited practices? Why bring him back against this team right now and what they can do with getting to the passer? So I kind of baked that into going heavy on the Niners at 5.5. Then it went to 7 as, hey, he didn't show up. And they said, hey, Deshaun Watson's not going to talk to the media, right? And then PJ Walker wasn't going to talk to the media. And DTR wasn't going to talk to the media all week. Why are the quarterbacks not talking to the media this week? It's either something crazy is happening where there's more allegations against their starting quarterback, or he's not going to play, and they want to leave the confusion right out there.
Yeah.
So it moved to 7, and at the announcement this morning of Deshaun Watson being out, it moved to 10. So got it at 5.5. Pretty heavily hit a little bit more at 7, and then I'm letting it go at 10. But I don't see how Cleveland scores. They're starting PJ Walker,
Yeah, saw that.
and the guy does not do well throwing the forward pass. It's going to be a rough day. I think they're going to try to lean on Jerome Ford, maybe try to get something going on the running game, but the Niners are going to be licking their damn chops, and I think they could. I think this will be a very low scoring game. I like the under 36.5 as well, but I think the Niners get out to a 14, 17 point lead early in the first half, and then they just cruise and run the ball and get everybody reps, right? Some Jordan Mason, if Elijah Mitchell's not going to play and stuff like that too. So Niners.
Yeah, you don't feel good about this one, if Watson plays less than 100%. Nick Chubb's not there. With no Watson, no Nick Chubb, you don't even feel good with DTR. So now you get PJ Walker. Like, I don't see how you could feel comfortable taking anyone but San Francisco with this matchup. So I'm not going to continue to waste air here. I'm also taking the 49ers.
Yeah.
Next matchup, Carolina at Miami. The Dolphins, at the time of recording this, were favored by 13.5. I believe that's gone up in Miami's favor. Over-under was pretty high, 48.5. What you got?
Yeah, Miami's at 14 right now, but I don't think it really matters too much. Like, you're going to hit 13.5, you're going to hit 14. This is a game that I wouldn't want to bet. At some point, Carolina is going to put a game together. Their coaching staff is just way too good for them to not be able to win some games that they probably shouldn't, right, throughout the year. But I'll take Miami. They can do it all. They could run, they could pass.
Yeah.
Fun thing about Tua, right, is, and this is more not a betting take, but fantasy football take, right, is like, if you're playing fantasy football, it's hard to play. It sounds weird. It's hard to play Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback one, because he just doesn't score a lot of points, because this is a run team. Like, it's flashing, they put up numbers and stuff like that, but they're a running team. Like, I think Tua is ranked like the number 11 quarterback in fantasy scoring, but he's played every week so far. And that's against a bunch of guys in that above him that haven't played for 5 games already, and the guys behind him that haven't played it. So, but I'll take Miami to win the game. I don't think Carolina's that good yet. I think that it's going to be a struggle for Bryce Young in this game, where he feels like he has to do too much, and we all know that his velocity on deep balls or balls, forward of 17 yards drops drastically, and if he's going to have to do that all game and try to push the ball up the field, I don't think he's prepared to do it yet.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same sentiment there. The Panthers are 25th in sacks allowed, so they're not protecting Bryce Young, not giving him time to throw. 22nd in rushing, 23rd in passing, bottom 10 in a lot of the categories on the other side of the ball. So they're not getting it done on offense, not getting it done on defense. I have a feeling the Dolphins are going to get up 3 or 4 scores and just kind of cruise, hand the ball off to Salvin Ahmed will be running. Mostert might be getting some rest. Is it Chris? I forget the other running back's name.
Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks, because I think
bum, because Jeff Wilson's still on the still isn't playing.
I was gonna say I don't think Jeff Wilson's back, but I think Brooks carried the ball like 10 times for like 66 yards in that other blowout. So he's a guy who might get it done if Miami's able to run away with this thing in like the first half. But I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Next matchup, Indy at Jacksonville. The Jaguars were favored by 4. Over unders at 45.5. What you got?
I'll take Jacksonville. I think there is going to be something about them coming back from England and then having to play at home or something like that. But the crowd's going to be into it pretty heavily. You just got a big win over Buffalo. People will say, oh, it's because they traveled or whatever. But you still have to beat the team, right? And there's still talented players and stuff like that. But the crowd feeds off of it. It's a good home field advantage that they have there. Jonathan Taylor, how much does he get in the mix? I don't think it really matters too much, because Jacksonville stops the run fairly well. You could beat them through the pass, but Gardner Minshew playing, I think Indianapolis is better for that. they're going to be a little bit more balanced. But I'll take Jacksonville to win the game at home.
Yeah, ask James Cook about that rushing defense.
Yeah.
He might have some good things to say about it, or bad things.
Yeah.
It depends.
Whatever.
Jaguars coming off 2 big wins. You mentioned that overseas, and last week coming against the Bills. Huge win. For this matchup, the Jags are middle of the road offensively, but top 10 in defensive efficiency, and they're 8th against the run. We talked about how they stop it. The stats back that up. I do like what Gardner Minshew has done. Like you, I think he is better, at least passing, better at giving that team a little more balance. So I like what he's done to this point, but I think Jacksonville is just kind of a step up from the Titans, the Rams, and the Ravens, teams the Colts have either beaten or taken to overtime over the last few weeks. I'm taking Jacksonville, but I do worry about Zay Jones missing time. I didn't see what his status was.
He's out.
That hurts a little bit, but it doesn't affect my pick. So yeah, he aggravated that knee injury after playing about half the snaps Jacksonville had in London in that final game up there against Buffalo last week. But yeah, that sucks. But I'm still taking the Jaguars here. I like Zay Jones a lot. I think you've kind of influenced me, and I've kind of paid a lot more attention to him. The dude is good at football, so I'm a huge fan now. Thank you.
You know, cool thing is if you could somehow find a prop for a player to fumble the ball, you could just throw whatever you want at Jamal Agnew. That dude's going to be playing. He gets the ball so much on these bubble screens or whatever like that, and he's a punt returner. He fumbles at least once a game. It's the wildest thing ever. Like, you always see someone fumbled. You look at it, it's Jamal Agnew. So.
Jamal Agnew.
Yeah.
All right. Next matchup here: New Orleans at Houston. The Saints are favored by 1.5. Over/unders at 42.5. What you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna take New Orleans to win this game. I don't think Houston's there yet. The Saints are. It is hard to play in the division on the road, right? Mm-hmm. These are teams who will see each other all the time. These games matter, a little bit more. There's a lot more emphasis on winning the 6 games in your division, because if you could do that, you're gonna scrape it out. You're gonna scrape. If you go 50-50 the rest of the year, you're gonna be a 10-win team. So. A lot riding on this. Houston feels good about themselves and everything like that, but Lattimore, who's he going to lock up? Nico Collins, something like that probably. But I think that adding Kamara in, getting more of those reps with Kamara, Michael Thomas is staying healthy. They're able to distribute the ball to him, Olave and all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be too much for Houston to deal with. You got Denzel Perriman in the middle for the Houston Texans. He came back last week after injury, but he only played like 38% of snaps on the defensive side of the ball. So they're bringing him back slowly. They're going to need him a lot more, and I don't know if they're going to do that with a guy in his 30 range or whatever like that on the back end of his career playing NFL football. They need him, but there's that, and the secondary is just completely wiped out and banged up. For the Houston Texans, you do get 2 offensive linemen that are, they played for the first time together. The line's kind of getting a little bit more healthy with Tunsil and all that in Houston, but I think it's going to be too much for New Orleans to come through.
Okay, I was afraid you were taking Houston here.
No.
2 weeks ago, I was super concerned about Derek Carr and the Saints offense. I think we talked about it on one of the recap episodes, but Carr threw the ball like 30 times behind the line of scrimmage or something stupid. But last week, Carr was a week removed from his shoulder injury. I think it was like an AC joint. And he looked fine against New England. The offense and defense looked good. And on the year, Saints are 11th against the run and 12th against the pass. So defense is getting it done. The defense is also 5th in terms of defensive efficiency. So you like to see that. They're shutting opponents down, so I'm not worried there. The concern for the Saints here is the offense. I'm taking New Orleans, knowing that if Houston's able to put up points early, the Saints might have some issues, playing catch-up. I think Olave was banged up last week or the week before, so you're not going to get him at 100%. I think Juwan Johnson's also missing this game. So we'll probably see a ton of freaking Taysom Hill, but I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just going to annoy the hell out of me.
Fucking worst, man. I was going through a league where I have Jake Ferguson as my only tight end.
Yeah.
And it's a dynasty league, and I have Luke Musgrave on my taxi squad, but I was like, I need a tight end for next week, right? And it came down, and I was like, am I going to pick up Taysom Hill and just hope that he runs one in? Like, it's the worst. That dude, great football player.
That's all you need, though.
You just never want to see him on the field.
He runs one in, you got yourself a top 12 tight end.
Yeah. The problem is that you feel like they put him in and it just stops everything they want to do with the offense. It stops all the flow, right? Because they always have him at quarterback, and he's not throwing the ball. He's either going to run it or he's going to hand it off, and it just takes so much out of the offense. And then they'll do it on like a 3rd down and 3, and you know where the ball's going, and it's just such a buzzkill. It's such a buzzkill.
I'm glad it annoys you as much as it annoys me. I hate seeing it. All right, moving into the afternoon games. So a little bit later here, 2:05 Mountain Time start for us in the best sports time zone I think there is that God created. First game, New England at Las Vegas. The Raiders are favored by 3, over-unders at 41.5. What do you got? I was interested in this one a lot.
We talked about New Orleans beating up on New England, and I don't know what to make of New England. This is the wildest thing that we've ever seen since we've almost been alive, since, Drew Bledsoe getting busted up, and then it opens the gates for the best quarterback to play sports of all time, right? I mean, unless you don't count wins as, quarterback stat, then he's just kind of okay, played a long time, racked up a bunch of numbers. But I don't know what to make of them. Just seems like they don't know what they're doing. It's either that or they know exactly what they're doing and they're tanking for Caleb Williams. And it's like the perfect team to do it. He would never, right? But it's the perfect time and team to do it with when you got a bunch of guys in, on defense that have been drafted and then they're injured, so they're not coming back this year. So you have all the excuses whatsoever. You can pin the tail on the donkey named Mac Jones. But then you can go draft Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick because you absolutely stink. Or they get to the one of those top picks and then they trade that and a next 2 years first or whatever because they don't care about draft picks as much. And I'm just gonna take Las Vegas. I have I backed out of a week before week 5, week 6 bet on New England. Added them into some teasers and stuff because I didn't think that they should have, nobody should be dogs against the Las Vegas Raiders. Nobody should be dogs against the New England Patriots. And no one should probably only have to lay 3 against New England. So I think the only reason it's at 3 is because of the coaching, and Josh McDaniels will find some way to fuck this thing up, and then New England wins. But I'm going to take the Raiders.
Yeah, have these lines makers watched New England these last 2 weeks? It's been bad. It's been very bad. They're still missing a lot of key pieces. I think Matthew Judon's also out for this one, so that's the heart and soul of the defense there. He's not playing, so good luck. I spoke to this matchup on the recap. New England looks like hot garbage. 28th ranked offense for the Pats in efficiency. They aren't playing good defense, which coming into the season, I think we thought that was going to be their strength. And Mac Jones just got pulled from a game. I'm going to just say he got benched for the second straight week. You can say the game was already out of hand, but that's a benching if you're asking me. Not a great look for Bill Belichick and company. Las Vegas also coming off a solid win against Green Bay in primetime. They really didn't even use Devontae Adams in a meaningful way. I know Jacoby Myers got a lot of run there. Adams was dealing with the shoulder, I believe. So I think the Raiders continue to improve on the ground. I think Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams continue to kind of get targets funneled to them. And I think McDaniels gets a win against his former Papa. I think he beats Papa Belichick here. I'm taking the Raiders.
Nice.
Next afternoon game, Arizona at the Rams. Rams are favored by a touchdown. Over-unders high. It's at 48.5 because I don't think anyone's playing defense here. What you got?
I'm going to take the Rams to win this ball game, and it's solely because I don't think that Arizona is just all that great. I don't think it's anything that the Rams do special or anything like that. But if you want to add in things like Matt Stafford has Cooper Kupp back. He's built a rapport with Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. They finally get rid of Van Jefferson. Kyron Williams is playing pretty well. He's not good as a running back. He's getting more volume than anybody in the NFL right now. And eventually one of those pops once you get enough volume. But I think that the wide receiver weapons and the way Matthew Stafford's playing is going to be too much for Arizona to keep up with. I think that you can get, one or two prime Aaron Donald pressures, maybe one of those comes into a sack right when you need it, turnover on downs or strip sack fumble or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
recovered by the Rams, and then they go up 2 scores later on in the game, and then it kind of just ices it because Arizona's in, one-dimensional football at that point.
Yeah, Arizona ranks 30th in defensive efficiency. Rams offense is ninth in that same metric. They also got cut back, as you mentioned last week, and he looked pretty good, looked pretty healthy, ran a lot of routes, caught a lot of passes, helped that offense, even though they did fall to Philadelphia. But I think with a full complement of weapons, Van Jefferson's gone. Was he the fourth wheel? Can we call him a fourth wheel that's now gone in that receiver core? Yeah, McVay and company should be able to win this at home. Arizona will also be without James Conner for a few weeks. I think he went to IR. Not sure if Keontae Ingram's playing, so it might just be that, was it Amari? I don't even know how to say his name.
Yeah.
The guy everyone spent a lot of fab on, which we'll see how that plays out.
He's not even the backup.
Mercado or something like that. Yeah.
He's not even the backup. It's like, it is Keontae Ingram. And people were spending all kinds of fab on the wrong guy. Woo!
Yeah. I think they saw James Conner going to IR, so they thought they're assuming 4 games minimum.
Yeah. But I think Keontae Ingram's playing this week.
Okay. He is playing. Okay. I saw some questionable stuff early in the week, but Sean McVay, his wife has a baby bump. They're due any moment now. So I think Sean McVay and the Rams get the baby bump. I'm taking LA in this matchup.
Gross.
All right, next matchup, Philly. The aforementioned Eagles, they're going to New York to take on the Jets. Philly's favored by a touchdown on the road, over-unders at 41. What do you got?
I'll take Philly to win this ball game. I don't like it. I'll just be honest. I don't like it. I think this is going to be a slugfest type of game where the offenses are kind of just gross. I don't think that Philadelphia has shown us anything that's kind of spectacular with their offense this year. They have been able to have those third quarter 8 to 9 to 10 minute drives that just take everything out of a team or whatever like that. I think it's going to be a lot harder to do that against this New York Jets defense at home after coming off a win, right? So people are the Jets fandom, as much as they boo what happens with Zach Wilson and bitch and moan about it, they are Zach Wilson. So they love this dude because they are the underdog. They are the one, like Jersey people, that nitty gritty Jets thing is, oh, little man can't, I'll show you type of thing, right? Like they're those type of people. So when Zach Wilson plays okay and they get a win, you're going to see Zach Wilson jerseys all over that stadium. So I'll still take Philly to win the game. I don't think that they cover, though. I don't think they're 7 points better than this Jets team. Their defense, it's okay, but have they really stopped a decent passing attack? Not like we're saying Zach Wilson has a decent passing attack with this Jets team, but it's not like they've played like spectacular either. They're missing a lot of players, that have moved on or injuries and all that kind of stuff too. So they've dealt with all that and haven't been able to mesh well. But I'll take Philly to win the ball game. I think that if they can put together a drive or get a turnover, or something like that, I think they could do something. But there's no surprise if the Jets win this ball game at home. It's kind of like a afternoon going into the evening, right? Like the lights are going to come on at the stadium before the game's over type of thing. So, but I don't know how I can take the Jets to beat Philadelphia. So, but I think
with
it's
a straight face.
Yeah, it's a good measuring stick for Philadelphia, though, right? So,
no.
They're the only other undefeated with the Niners, and I think people would sit there and say, "Hey, I'd probably take the Bills over this Philly team. I'd probably take." Who else? Let's see. The Dolphins. You probably take the Dolphins over them. You think they have a lot more speed and could put up a little bit more points and stuff like that. The styles are different. But there's not too many teams that are at that top elite level of the NFL. So the Jets have a defense that's like that. Let's see how it works out. But I'll take Philly to win it.
You get your Zach Wilson jersey yet? You get your blacked out Zach Wilson jersey? I was hoping to see you in it.
I haven't checked checked my mail yet. So
tune in next week. See if Nate's wearing that thing. Yeah. Love seeing Dallas Goedert get involved in the offense. Finally, last week helped me out in DFS a little bit. He'd been quiet to this point. Devontae Smith has had some good games. AJ Brown, dude's been feasting most of the year, but that's just the problem with the team. It's more the problem for the team for opposing defenses. It's more than just one guy a defense has to give attention to. Philly also runs the ball very well. They're second in rushing yards so far, and seventh overall in offensive efficiency, kind of where you'd expect them to be, right? The team is pretty good. So I think the Jets may slow that down a little bit. Their defense is good, as Nate has alluded to. Probably a top 5 or top 10 unit if they weren't dealing with some of the offensive struggles, right? That's kind of slowed them down a little bit. But I don't think their offense is going to fare very well. They're going to want to run the ball. That's kind of what Philly's defense does well. They're vulnerable in the secondary, but if Philly's able to kind of slow down the run game, score some points, get a lead, put Zach Wilson in a negative game script, I do think they're able to get this win comfortably. Also, wouldn't be comfortable taking that spread, just like Nate. But I've got the Eagles.
Nice.
All right, next matchup. This is the final one in the afternoon slot. Detroit at Tampa Bay. Lions are favored by a field goal on the road. Over-unders at 43.5. Nate, what are you doing?
I'm going to pick Detroit in this game. I think they're better all around. I don't think that it's hard to say. It's weird to say. I don't think Detroit's 3 points better than Tampa Bay at home, right? But you're out of division in this game, right? So it's not like you're comfortable playing them or anything like that. You have some familiarity playing them. That's how you say that, familiarity. That's a hard word to say, Tony.
I'll allow it.
Try. Okay. You're not going to try to say it?
I'm not going to try to say it or spell it.
Okay. Yeah, some familiarity with the team or something like that. And Baker's played okay. But I'll take Detroit to win the ball game. I think, maybe it's close to start out that second half, and Detroit is a team that can put together one of those long drives to open up a third quarter, or they get a quick stop. And then they put together a drive, and it's just demoralizing, right? The offense for the other team's just totally out of rhythm. And now they know that they only got a couple possessions left to make an impact, and they usually want to try to put up points quick, and that's where you get into turnover land. So I'll take that.
Okay. I don't have the stats, the numbers, the ranks here in front of me, but Baker Mayfield has been pretty good on third downs, just converting at a very high rate, like an elite level this year. And very good numbers against the blitz, like playing like a top 5 quarterback. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's in the top 5 in those categories. So he's been doing a lot of work for Tampa Bay. I don't think Detroit is going to let Baker bake. I think you're going to see Baker regress to the mean, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some negative regression. I think Detroit's going to run the ball. I think they'll have a lot of success there. They're going to take what's given to them in the passing game. I'm coming around Jared Goff, and they're going to contain Tampa Bay's passing game. Their defense has been pretty good. They're top 5 in both rushing and passing yards allowed, and top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency. Not what you would normally see from a Lions team. So it's crazy to see when I was pulling these numbers up. Kind of happy for Dan Campbell and those guys. Nice. They're playing really good football, though, and I just think that continues at Tampa. I am weary because it's an out-of-division game. It's on the road, but I'm taking the Lions on the road here kind of cautiously.
Yeah. Speaking of that blitz, going back to that Rams-Arizona game, the only way that Arizona can get pressure on a quarterback is by blitzing, and by blitzing heavily, not just like one extra dude. And while he's not Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford is damn good against the blitz. And every time the teams blitz him, it's quick out of the hands, and he's got all the dudes around him to make those quick little option type routes and stuff to get themselves open. So just something that made me think about with the blitz. So.
Yeah, that's fair. No, good stat to bring up here. Moving on to the 2 primetime games. So starting with the Sunday night football matchup. This is a battle of New York teams. The Giants at the Bills. Buffalo's favored by 2 touchdowns. Over-unders at 44.5. Bills looked a little vulnerable last week in London. Who are you taking here?
Yeah, speaking of vulnerable.
Just setting you up.
Vulnerable. That's this, right? Like, there's a lot of things where it's like, hey, people do things and consequences happen with doing things, but you also don't want to say they had it coming for them, right? And this is across like all domains of life. Like, just because you do something doesn't mean that something should happen to you, right? Or the way that you talk or what you believe in or the way that you dress or anything like that. But when you field this team in the New York Football Giants, you're asking to get your ass beat by the Buffalo Bills, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The way that you coach, the way that you call plays, man, Kafka did so well last year putting this team in position, but they just don't have dudes, and they can't block, and there's only so much a guy like Daniel Jones, right, limited in everything that he can do. I think he's a pretty good middle-of-the-road quarterback in the NFL, but you can't be a middle-of-the-road quarterback if you can't get the ball in your hand before you're getting touched. It's crazy. Buffalo's going to be able to put up points quick on this team. New York runs a ton of man. Stephon Diggs is going to be able to beat that. Gabe Davis is going to be able to get open. Maybe we see a catch out of Kincaid this week, right? But Dawson Knox is still that dude. They're going to be able to do whatever. Yeah, they're going to be able to do whatever they want against this team. And you asked for it. You had it coming, right? Don't put yourself in that position. It's going to be a bludgeoning.
Yeah. Seeing this Giants team this year, like going back and thinking about how they made the playoffs last year, I feel like we're stepbrothers. Like we just lost TV for a week. Our parents are making us get jobs. We're getting sent to therapy. Like, what the fuck happened? How did they make the playoffs? This team made the playoffs last season.
They had like how Minnesota had the, most one-score game type of victory things. That's like a stat that you would expect or whatever. New York Giants on like third down conversions and red zone and green zone conversions for touchdowns and not field goals was like elite, numbers we've never seen before in the NFL. So,
oh, you're setting me up to say it again. So you're saying they regressed back to the mean?
Maybe they outperformed themselves a little bit last year, right?
Like, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's a 2-touchdown spread. This is the Bills. They'll bounce back from that overseas loss. They'll continue working guys into that corner and linebacker position. They've suffered some injuries, obviously, with Trey White 2 weeks ago, Matt Milano. I think Daquan Jones might still be out, but I think they'll get guys in there. This is the Giants. It's not the Jaguars. It's not going to be a contending team. I think they'll be fine. Also, we need to stop with the Giants primetime games. Please, True. Roger, if you listen. I know Roger's a listener of the show. Please stop. This is enough. There's probably more. Like, we probably got like 2 or 3 more.
Come on, Raj.
Please. But I'm taking the Bills, obviously. Final game here, Monday Night Football. Should be a good one, I hope. Dallas at the Chargers. Cowboys are road favorites. They have 2 points. Again, at the time of recording these notes, over-under's high is one of the higher ones on the week, probably the highest. I wasn't keeping track as we went through here, but 50.5, Nate. What you got?
How good is Dallas? They haven't beaten a team that's actually decent in the NFL yet. They beat, and then they lost to one that's like the worst team in the NFL in Arizona. So how good really are they? They just got curb stomped by the San Francisco 49ers after trying to address everything on their team to be able to beat the Niners. And they lost by more points than they ever have against the Niners since like the 1970s or something, or the 80s. And for some of you that may be younger, yes, that's in the 1900s. That's a while ago. I don't think that they're that good. It's weird because this is going to be a home game for Dallas, which is probably what they really needed. They really needed to be in a crowd that is pro-Dallas. And as you know, Tony, growing up in Southern California, I grew up in Northern California. Look, man, we got Viva La Raza coming out in all of their Cowboys gear all of a sudden to be able to support this team. I don't know. Maybe they sold their tickets because they don't want to have to go watch this team after what happened last week. Season's over. But Dallas's secondary struggles without Diggs in it. And
so far,
they struggle to get pressure against teams that can quick pass. And that is exactly what Justin Herbert can do. You look at the last game that Justin Herbert played, he threw 78 passes, right? This is a good number. He threw a ton of passes, but the ball was basically in his hand and out of his hand extremely quick. There was it felt like he didn't throw for many yards, but he completed like 38 passes in a game or something stupid. But I don't know the exact numbers. I never really know exact numbers. I just know what I see. So
Yeah.
they can quick pass against this team, and I think they'll be able to do it
Okay.
all they want. And then I think this just comes down to a turnover. Who in this game is going to turn the ball over? Who's more likely to turn the ball over? Is it the guy who said he's not going to throw a lot of interceptions and then threw 3 of them in one game last week? Or the guy who just doesn't really throw interceptions and make dumb mistakes, right? I'll take Justin Herbert. Coming off the bye, you get to see exactly how to deal with this Dallas Cowboys team and how to run a little bit of defense if Staley's actually a defensive coach anymore, and then how to attack it on offense. I hope that they spent some time doing that and it can do exactly what the 49ers did.
Outside of Dan Quinn, this is probably like the worst conglomerate of coaches we've ever had in one matchup, maybe ever in the history of the NFL. I don't like any of them. Dan Quinn's okay. I'll give him a pass, but this was a pretty neutral one for me. I know that we have Dallas as road favorites here. I was on the fence, could have gone either way. You picked the Chargers, so I felt right, at least mixing it up a little bit here. Also, they're not playing the 49ers defense. Chargers have the 22nd ranked defense, so I think Dallas is going to have a much easier time running the ball, passing the ball, just finding space versus what San Fran gave them last week. I think it's a great bounce back spot for Dallas. And I think we still project them to be an NFC, at least playoff contender, maybe not a Super Bowl contender, because I don't think they're getting past San Fran in the playoffs. Obviously, they're not doing that in the regular season, right? They're just not there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm taking Dallas. I do like them on the – we're saying on the road. If you didn't hear me, this is at SoFi. There's going to be probably 75% Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
I did grow up in this. They're freaking everywhere.
Yep.
I was one of them when I lived there. All right. On the week, I am risking 45.2 units again. Again, I don't like these numbers because some of these money lines are just crazy.
Yeah.
Plus 900 for a couple of them.
Yeah.
But Nate is risking 45.6. And as a reminder, we're risking whatever it takes to make 16 units, or I think there's only 15 games this week. So 15 units on the week to get to basically, plus 1 unit for each matchup. We had a rough week 5 in terms of picks, money line picks, Nate, but we did both win our best bets. So that's a positive coming out of week 5. What are you looking at this week?
I'm looking at winning another best bet. Let's just say I might be the best bet picker of all time. Maybe I should start my own TikTok channel about, how good I am. Fucking bozos. I'm just kidding. I'm not that type of person. That stuff really bugs me. But I'm going to go back to the teaser well. I've been doing well on teasers all year. I'm going to tease the 49. I'll update. So it's not the numbers that are on your screen right now, but I've updated the number based off of what the current thing is at the time of actually recording this, because we put the numbers together like less than 24 hours ago to make all the graphics and do all this stuff, because we have jobs and stuff and families. So you don't expect a big injury news there, but we'll still take the teams where they are. But I'll take San Francisco -4, tease them down to the 4. I think that they're we talked a little bit on the recap episode, Tony, where outside of maybe Philly, Kansas City, Buffalo, maybe Miami, I wouldn't add Detroit in there. I don't think the Niners should be less than double-digit favorites against any other team in the NFL. And I'd beg to say they probably can beat teams like, damn it, because they're going to have to play, and this is going to bite me in the ass. Philadelphia, current state of Philadelphia, I think they could beat them by double-digit points. I think that they could beat Miami by double-digit points. I think they could beat the Lions by double-digit points. I don't think they could beat Buffalo by double-digit points. But if you're going to give me less than a touchdown, even if it's I have to tease it and I have to pay a little bit more to do so, I'll take Niners at 4. And then I'm going to tease down Buffalo to the 9 off the 15. So I'm going to get past that, 2 touchdown, under the 10. I think they are definitely 10 points better than this New York Giants team. And I don't know how New York scores, right? It's the same thing as New England. I don't know how New York scores any points in this game. Buffalo's going to be able to get up early, pin their ears back, and then goodbye Daniel Jones, who put in, or no, not even Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor, actually, yeah.
So Tyrod Taylor, and then whoever else bum they have behind that dude. So, yeah. Tyrod has some wheels too, so does Daniel Jones, but man, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to anger us. Actually, you're already going to know the outcome, so this is actually one of those great opportunities to take the family to a pumpkin patch. Just tell the wife, or significant other, husband, whatever, hey, I'm not going to watch football tonight. This tonight's for you. Tonight's for you and the family.
Don't do this.
I'm knocking on wood as we speak.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but I am.
But it's definitely grown over the show.
Yeah. All right. I'm continuing this theme of rallying behind a team that's grown on me in 2023. I'm taking Detroit -3. That's currently at -110. Might be a little bit different than the graphic Nate mentioned. We made those yesterday. We're recording this on Friday. It's a road game, so there is some risk, as I mentioned when we made our picks. Amon-Ra and Brian Branch, who's been playing well, are currently questionable, so maybe something to monitor. I haven't seen the green light on them. Not too concerned if they don't go, but Dan Campbell has those guys playing at a very high level. I don't think you can say the same for the Bucs at this point. Baker's kind of carried them a little bit. I don't think he can sustain that. That offense for Tampa Bay is just 16th in efficiency. Mike Evans, I don't think he's been practicing in full all week. Monday, I think he just did individual drills. Haven't seen the Friday practice report. Not sure what's going to happen tomorrow on Saturday. So hamstring may still be an issue. What's that, producers? I'm being told hamstrings are pretty important for wide receivers. So I'm taking Detroit -3. Hoping to stick with. I would love to do these teasers, but I can't also do the teasers.
Yeah, man.
Maybe.
So we'll probably look at this like for next year, right, or something like that. But maybe we do like our picks and then our favorite teaser and then best bet, right? That's outside of the teaser realm. So
yeah, the teasers
one teaser,
they're
one total, right? Something like that.
Okay.
Let us know in the comments if you watch this. Let us know in the comments if you watch this if that's something that you think you would enjoy watching us go through the pain of. So.
Oh, I sweat it out after we post this. I sweat it out every Sunday, Monday, whatever. Final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah. For context of the time that we're recording this, the Colorado Buffaloes were up 29. Let me make sure I got this right. I believe it was 29-0 in the first half. Was it 29-0? Yeah, 29-0 in the first half. Less than a minute ago, Stanford just kicked a field goal to tie the game and put it into overtime, 36-36. Colorado Buffaloes could play one half of football. Maybe that's something you can figure out in sports betting for going on in the future. Colorado, I believe, was a 12-point favorite, 12.5-point favorite in this game. Just cashed a Stanford cover. So give me that because they're not going to lose by 2 scores if they do lose. So
there you go.
Colorado, fun team. Fun team to watch, but Jesus, it's tough to bet them.
It's an emotional roller coaster with those guys right now. All right, thanks for tolerating us, guys. The first 6 weeks have been a lot of fun. Moving, the thing we do here with this weekly preview and recap, moving it over to TacoCorp. They don't pay well over here at TacoCorp, but they let us do whatever we want.
Yeah, exactly.
We've grown from I think 30 or 40 some odd subscribers, Nate, before we started. So I think we're 140 or something like that. So just like to continue to send our gratitude on, both Nate and I's behalf.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys are doing. We're complete idiots.
We appreciate you guys. Nate mentioned feedback. If you guys have feedback for us on stuff you like, stuff you don't like, things that you'd like us added or stuff you'd like removed, we have taken some of that feedback before and kind of made some small changes, but just let us know. We are listening, reading those comments. So that's it for us this week. Please join us next week for Nate's recap episode and then also for our week 7 picks. Until then, have a great week. Best of luck in all of your degenerate activities, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.